you feast today, eating the rice, eating the ram, and whatever you're using to celebrate Eid Mubarak, you should also remember that it goes beyond just the feasting. Now, whether you are a Christian or Muslim or you belong to other religion, we do know that on this side of the world, talking about Africa, particularly Nigeria, we're very, very religious people. We do not play a joke with our religion. But let's look at it. What is the connection between religion and national development? How can religion help us to develop our nation? In this case, we're celebrating Salah. Soon the Christians will be breaking Lent, and then it will be time for Easter celebration. How do we use the teachings of religion to better our nation, better society? Joining us virtually is Nurudeen Asunogie Esquire, who's a Muslim cleric and, of course, a legal practitioner. Good morning. Thank you for joining. Baraka Salah.
Good morning. Thank you for having me. Baraka Salah to the Muslim world.
I was expecting that you would find a way to Bluetooth some ram and some rice, pounded yam, and all the food to us in the studio.
Well, we'll get around that by His grace.
All right, so congratulations to you. I know it's not been easy. Imagine being on a fast for 30 days. It must have been very challenging. But in spite of how challenging it is, being that for those who have been on a fast, they also had to go about businesses, do other things, insisting that they must follow the tenets of the religion, what Islam prescribes. Why do you think Muslims saw it as something that they must do, they must observe? What does the season teach?
Well, basically, that's what defines us. What defines us is our ability to reconnect with the provenance of our being, which will mean to reconnect with our Creator. And what the fasting period does for us is to provide for us an ample opportunity for us to do this reconnection. That's just what we did. We went into yet another spiritual tutelage where the Almighty Allah was our instructor, helping us to reconnect and to deepen our connection with Him and for us to realize the essence of being. And so once an individual gets the issue clear that you are here for just one mission, which is to reconnect with the source of being, so that when at the end of your mundane peregrination you return to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, you would have been declared a success. Because regardless of what the achievements here are, they pay into insignificance when put side by side what the hereafter represents.
Eid Mubarak. Hello, can you hear me?
I can hear you loud and clear.
Okay, thank you so very much. After the iftar on Saturday, the president did advise the Muslim communities that all the virtues that came with the fasting should not stop. It should continue throughout the year. Almsgiving, reaching out to the less privileged and the vulnerables in society. But looking at religion and development, one would have expected that religion become the real basis and foundation for the moral fabrics and ethics in a society. But we look at our environment, for example, two dominant religions, and of course we cannot see this morality in the public space. What do you think is wrong with our religious practice in Africa and indeed Nigeria?
Well, the fundamental thing that is wrong is the fact that there is this opportunistic employment of religion for the gratification of proclivities that are orgish, that are negativity driven. Because if one were truly religious, what that would imply is that you become spiritual, you become less attached as it were, to the mundane things of this world. You become more solicitous, you become more concerned, you become more compassionate in your dealings with people that you find around you. Because whether it's Christianity, whether it's Islam, compassion is foundational. What that would mean is that if you were in a public space, all that you do within that space is to create about an enlargement of the comfort, an enlargement of the well-being, an enlargement of the grace that that space ordinarily has. So that whoever comes into that space as superintended by you will have the equanimity of the mind, will enjoy what you refer to as clover. But if one is there and religion has not speculated into the heart of that particular individual, what you do is that you have an entitlement mentality. Resources that should have gone into all of the enlargement that we have spoken about in the positive sense of it, you cause to coagulate around you and those that are you. And so the larger society suffers. What that speaks to is the fact that there is the absence of connection. Because once you get connected, all that you do is that you become a value creator. You become one who contributes, not a consumer. The principal question you ask at all material time, what am I giving and not what I'm taking? Because your relevance, your significance is not derived from the quantum of the resources that are available to you, but how many people were you able to get to smile? How many people were out there in the winter of despondency and you provided for them a blanket of hope and fulfillment? If you had religion, you do that. But the unfortunate thing is that, yes, we will mount the whole issue of religion incrementally. We are religious people, but it has not affected us in terms of our spirituality. And so that explains why whoever finds the opportunity to manage resources that are collectively owned, what ought to be the common patrimony, what we do is to regale in the speculation of such resources. And when you do that, you are declared missing in the spiritual world because you have become a thief who had appropriated what we were supposed to superintend on behalf of the vast majority of the people. And so the president, yes, he has said, imbibe this spirit of giving. In Islam, it's not even enough that you give. It is not the totality of us who gave in the month of Ramadan that have the benefit of that which we are giving. Because in the very first place, the intention for giving, your action is predicated on the intention. And there must be, the resources you are giving must be immaculate. I can't, for example, steal resources because I am privileged to be in one government position, buy hundreds of bags of rice, and I distribute to them. Make those persons begin to become subservient, to sponge on my supposed scholarship, when the fact of the matter is that I would have used that to make them much more creative and much more economically relevant to society.
Okay, thank you very much, Barrister Nurudeen. Uh, I, I like what you said. When it comes to religion and national development, one of the anticipation, one of the expectation of society is that religious leaders are sort of more in an advantageous position to call to order and to speak truth to power, including political power. And that when they do this, they have the wherewithal to not just hold leadership to account, but to also speak to them in a way so that they do not deviate from the terms of references that the Constitution has laid down, that the regulatory institutions have laid down as a pathway for the leadership of the country to follow. That in this day and time, we find it somewhat very, very difficult. In fact, it's quite rare when we see religious leaders come to call leadership, political leadership to order. And some of the times, because they don't even do that, it's as if they are even taking part. And this has marred the road where really the important, significant role that religion was supposed to play in bringing development to nations and to country. Where did you think we got it wrong? And how can we ameliorate this?
Well, unfortunately, leadership has been assumed using different parameters, using different templates. A truly ideal religious leader will be one who has not compromised, will be one who will have the courage, of course, except you choose to practice duplicity. Only then you will talk to someone on an issue that you are as guilty as the person you are asking to stay out of that particular crime. A number of us, or those who are so described as religious leaders, became religious leaders by default. And quite a number of them have been compromised. Quite a number of them are either in sodality or fraternity with the people you say they want to, they ought to be correcting. And so when they speak to them, for example, and say, hey, don't do this, the message does not resonate with the one to whom it is said. He said, I understand what he's saying. He's just being parsimonious with the fact because we belong somewhere. We know what we have discussed. It's just like you say, no, don't bother. I say this in order to dope the followership into somnolence because it is in our best interest as a collective, as a group. If I were to say this to you, do not react. So the followership would think that our leaders, religious leaders, are engaging those who exercise political authority. And so they will not become bellicose, they will not create the kind of discombobulation that will nerve those who are in political authority. Each time we're talking to them, just give us time, we'll continue to talk to them. The one who would speak truth to authority is the one who will say, I won't take the gift you have sent to me when those over whom I offer leadership are navigating the even ocean of impetuosity. So you must do things in order to ameliorate, you must do things in order to transform. Give economic autarky to those persons because my work, my significance, for example, as a religious leader, is a consequence of the integrity and the quality of the people I lead. And I can't lead people who are penurious and I say, oh, I'm a success. How does that success come to be defined? And so they can't speak, whether it is in Islam or in Christianity. Those who are religious leaders are as worldly as those you say they ought to have spoken to use the common resources for the good. They want to ride the biggest of cars. They want to stay in a house that will ordinarily have no meaning because if they truly were religious, they will appreciate the fact that these houses do not have a meaning in the least. And so that's where we find the challenge. And that is why they are unable to effectively engage these persons who are in political leadership. Because when they do, they just smile. They know that they meet somewhere and do the same dirty things you are asking them not to do. But for those who are honestly immaculate, who swears, you don't find a dichotomy between what they say and what they do, they command some element of respect. But if I'm looking forward to the next sponsorship to go to Hajj, and that will come from those in government circle. I'm looking for the next sponsorship to go to Jerusalem, and that should come from government circle. You will not ordinarily expect that I will behave in a way that will be considered peevish by the one who will gratify this for me. And I think that is the challenge. They have not found God sufficient for them. It is what you refer to as cognitive dissonance. What we say in one breath is diametrically opposed or at variance with what we do ultimately because of our inability to rein in that propensity of wanting to be as materialistic as those persons were supposed to change. And I think that is where the biggest challenge is. So that those who exercise leadership over people in terms of religion must be people who are choosing, not those who are imposed, because there is always the imposition. The political class, of course, would support those they know will support them to take over the religious sphere because all is about power, which is to dominate and control ultimately. until and unless individuals are able to relate with their religious leader in a way that they do not become phobian or obsequious. Relate, yes, show some respect, but the respect must be principled. The respect must be issue driven. Must not be a respect that you give for the fun of it. But what we do today is blind respect. Who is my leader? And so we follow blindly as if we were in a cult like kind of setting.
All right, let's look at the effect of culture on religion. The picture that I've been painted so far of how religion operates in our environment, where people take advantage of religion to enrich themselves, to arrogate power to themselves. We don't exactly find that same picture in other climes. Look at how it operates in other climes and the benefits that religion has brought even to this part of the world. If we look at the Christian religion, how missionaries came into Africa, came into Nigeria to set up schools. If we look at how Islamic banks started, and even in Nigeria, you started having pioneer Islamic banks. It was about development. It was about the betterment of the people. But here, we find an abuse. Can we say culture has given a certain interpretation of religion to the extent that it does not benefit people? I'm talking about a culture where it is followers worshiping leaders and leaders seen as the omnipotent, seen as the king, and everybody serving them, everything belonging to them, everybody working for them.
But I think the very first place is the aspect of missionaries coming, building school, the bank, Islamic bank, and stuff like that. All of this could be debatable. But to the question that you have asked, when you have a followership that had at source the knowledge of the religion the individual professes, that particular individual becomes susceptible to manipulation. Because even when you say you have a leader, yes, there will be confusion, there will be chaos if we didn't have a leader. Enough will just become like a mob. But even when we have a leader, speaking about hierarchy, what that would imply, of course, is that that hierarchy must be regulated by rules, must be regulated by order. It must be an organized form of leadership that the individual will have. What has culture got to do with what the individual does? For example, if you took the African culture, the African culture was that kind of culture where you do not go to sleep on an empty stomach, where your neighbor has fed itself in a way that it became costly. In African society, no one individual was the owner of a child. The child was collectively owned because the good or bad coming from that particular child was going to impact on society either positive or negatively. So when you find all that we have seen happen, I think it's more of the Western culture, sort of whatever, this rugged capitalist whatever system where individuals want resources. We define our worth from within the context of how much is he worth in terms of material things, not what is his utilitarian value, by how much has he impacted society. All of these are purely Western ideas. So I would take what I obviously have no need for. I would feel fulfilled if I have a much bigger house, even if that house implied that the one there is a lunatic, because the place would have looked like a lunatic asylum, having what you have absolutely no need for. And so I will measure my success by how much I drive a much bigger car than the other person. So I think all of these are the issues that have dominated the issue of religion. So religion is just a facade. Religion is just here playing the role. It's just a facade. People dope themselves, religion. So if they truly were religious, all of that you have said will not happen. Take, for example, we had gone into fasting. We were practicing charity, including those who did not have, were struggling to find what they would give to those they think they were better than. And so we were communal. And we discovered that we would only live and survive more as communal people. If we wanted to be individualistic, we get isolated, we are most likely walking on the path of extinction. That was basically what religion was, to crystallize in our consciousness. And so when we miss that point, it's not what the culture has asked us to do. Culture, for example, in African setting, when people fix a meeting for 9 a.m., 9 had no other name other than 9. You don't see people walk in by 9:30 to 10 or 11 and they say, well, I knew nobody would be here. You were not going to attend that meeting on the basis of what you knew others would do, but you'll be attending on the basis of the robustness of your integrity that respected and appreciated the fact that 9 has no other name. It is 9. They don't come to workplace, for example, and give less than what they ought to give because they will carry a burden. They were not bothered. Of course, in purely those societies where we didn't even have the issue of religion, for you to know it's not our culture that is defining this, you could go anywhere. All you needed to do to protect your house was to have something that makes it impossible for the goats to access and eat up your food. Nobody breaks into your house. If somebody got into your farm and was so hungry and cannot access you, he does some little work there before he removes what is sufficient for him. Even if you cut the person in the process, you can appreciate that extreme hunger has brought this person here. But today, with all of the religion, with the volumes of money we have in our bank, with food that we have in our bank, whatever stores and stuff like that, we are insensitive, chronically insensitive to the pang of others, of people who are neighbors. If anything, their ululation is musical. We regale in it. We get exhilarated when we discover they do not have, because for us it has become a measure by which we see, we assess how blessed or how lucky we are, and we define them as people who are either not lucky or who are choosing to be lazy. So why should I be the one assisting you if you are choosing to act out a miserable existence?
Okay, I will follow up on this, as it's also good to know that you are a cleric. The impact of religion globally cannot be underestimated. If we look at the work of Max Weber on the Protestant ethics, we see what is happening in the United Arab Emirates, we see Qatar, we see Turkey, Saudi, and a lot of transformation that is happening with this very highly religious environment. And one wonders why the reverse is in the case here in Africa. What do you think are the challenges of religions really getting into our heart, that is just in our head and does not pass through our heart? What are the resisting factors around us?
The major challenge that we have in comparison to the countries you have mentioned is we are mentally lazy. We are cerebral destitute, those of us who are followers. And so we have outsourced our capacity to know to those who speak on behalf, who tell us that they see God. The average man in Qatar, the average man in Saudi, the average man in Dubai or wherever it is, understands the Quran as much, if not better, than the leadership or whoever exercises religious leadership or political leadership will have. So you cannot be using that instrument, for example, as instrument of manipulation. You cannot, for example, be saying, oh, Allah said this, when the fact of the matter is Allah never said that. And so the fellow will challenge you to say, no, what you're saying is not the case. But what we are in this part of the world is that we are obviously lazy mentally. And because we are lazy mentally and we have chosen again to become economically dependent. Whereas there is a tradition of the prophet, may Allah be pleased with him, that says, the hand that gives at all material time is by far more honorable than the one that receives. What that implies is that you go out is dignified, is honorable. You go out to work what you will eat rather than to depend. Because the man who controls what you eat, who controls how you get what you eat, will. And when he does that without you bringing a corresponding value, that man would regulate what you do. Majority of us today in this part of the world, majority of us today are just waiting to hear what did the leaders say about this issue. And so we are so chronically lazy that we will not even fact check or say, let me find out what is the position. It tells you that man should be your enemy. Why must he be my enemy? Because he has disagreed with me. And so you become a rebel if you were befriending someone who is at war with your own leader. You won't find that. And added to it, of course, is that these persons have come to internalize that there is absolutely nothing right in keeping money. If I, for example, have 1 million that has stayed with me for 365 days, I am under an impulsion to give 2.5% of that money compulsorily out as charity. And so, why would I want to keep that kind of money and give it out as charity? And so, what do? Think of a way of having it to recapitalize. And it's not going to recapitalize if I just kept it somewhere dormant. I put it into investment that will require people to come in and work, and they earn a decent living, a honorable whatever living. In that process, you find that there is an expansion of the economic landscape. These are the kind of things that bring in whatever. And if I bought property, I buy gold, I buy diamond, I buy whatever, Islam requires that I should be taxed. At the end of the year, I should be taxed for all of those properties that are not aiding production. Properties that would cause the economy of society to shrink. Because if I bought a 2 billion vehicle, I stay in 1 billion mansion, how does that enhance productivity in the society? Absolutely nothing by way. So I will be made to pay for that kind of luxury. And when I discover that over time, whatever it is I will be paying for that luxury, I become discouraged. So that money goes into industry. And when you have industries scattered right, left, and center, what does it bring? It does just one thing. It precipitates massive development of society, both the human and the landscape. That's what is basically missing here, that we have followership that is lazy, ready to take hook, line, and sinker what is told by the leadership, and we have those who are not made to be accountable. The spiritual dimension of it would not speculate if the enabling environment is not created by those who exercise leadership, because they are like blockers. They come between those persons who want. So you find more often than not, those who appear to fear God are usually those who are downtrodden, who are on the bottom rung of the economy ladder. So these are the issues that are absent here, but that you find present in societies that are predominantly Islamic, that have experienced development. I can't hear you, the audio.
It's in twofold. My question is in twofold. Um, Now, in Nigeria, when it comes to social religious tolerance, because it's a critical place, an area where national development can also be discussed. So, do you think when it comes to religious tolerance, we have made significant progress, or where do you think we are now when it comes to religious tolerance? And also, lastly, I'd like to ask for your advice for with regards to religious development, region and national development to Nigerians, both Muslims and Christians all around.
Yeah, what we want is not religious tolerance. we need religious understanding, because tolerance would mean that I do not appreciate what you're doing, but I just accept it for us to have peace, which will be like the graveyard peace. We have not had sufficient understanding. And why is it that we have not had sufficient understanding? It's because there are merchants who benefit from every seemingly religious crisis. Every seemingly religious crisis, there are benefits. Look at the leadership of Islam. Look at the leadership of Christianity and the followership. They live world apart. Those who are the leaders in Christianity are stupendously rich. Those who exercise leadership in Islam are stupendously rich. Whether it is the followership of Islam or the followership of Christianity, these are persons who are eking out a miserable existence. And so you want to ask, how does one reconcile all of this? Why would you have a leadership so rich and a followership so poor if leadership was supposed to help in the transformation of the life? And so it explains why when they fight, who are the collateral damage? Who are those who would suffer? The nobodies in this religion. And who are those who smile? Whether they go for peace conference, whether they go for any conference, they are the ones who get heavily paid. Those who die would have died, whatever, in vain. And that's why we said we must deepen understanding at the level of the followership, so that we begin to appreciate that if I'm a Muslim and you are a Christian, we are not in political parties. And that Allah or God is not looking for numbers, is looking for qualitative human beings who can truly succeed in at the level of primary creation, who will bring about the rarefaction and transformation of society. Now, if we had this understanding, we will not take up conjures or take up weapons and begin to fight, wanting to win supporter for who. Allah is not contesting election. He occupies a position that is completely unaffected by what we profess, whether we believe in him or we don't believe. Once we appreciate this reality, then we should be asking the question, whose battle are we fighting? So if it is the issue of toleration, all that we have is pretense. We pretend plentifully. I'll tell you most frankly, the Supreme Council for Islamic Affairs and TAN have a body there they are together that is called NIREC. But can't together with whatever will go out and make a statement. Supreme Council will go out and make a statement, and you begin to wonder when they come again under NIREC, they are talking and behaving as if they were one. The truth of the matter is that they are not one. We will leave the shores of this country and go to United America and get congressmen to say, sanction Nigeria. As if it is sanctioned, there is a special place where we go to. We don't deal with issues on the basis of fact. We are no longer realistic. We are just being sentimental. We have criminals who take advantage of religion to do all of the things they do. Let us call them by their title, that these are criminals. And so we deal with them and deal with them squarely, uniting in dealing with them. As to using religion to bring about development, there could have been nothing much better. Our society in Nigeria is the most blessed society. And I will tell you for truth, I have a sister-in-law who has kept a distance, who has become disgusted about me. Why? She has repeatedly said, what are you doing in Nigeria? Please come over to the UK. And I said, God does not do things by accident. If UK was to be the place I should be, he would not have made me in Nigeria. Whatever is good in UK was not made by the angel. And so I would have failed my mission, failed in my embassy if I were to go there. Why not stay back here? Either fix it with others who are ready to fix it, or we go under. But you know what has happened over time? Those who have occupied position of leadership in this country, whether they are in the executive arm, the judiciary, or in the legislative arm, they profess one faith or the other. And they are regularly interfacing with the leaders of this faith. They regularly. But how do you explain our impecuniosity, if not outright penury, in the face of the homologous resources that God has blessed this country with? The facts are simple. They are not vanishing into thin air. People are taking what they have no need for. I want to build a mosque. I go to someone whom I know has stolen the common patrimony. He gives, and we say we are organizing special prayers for that person. I want to build a church. Maybe these are resources that would have been used in building industries that will keep everybody busy in a way that nobody will find time to contemplate evil. And so we go to these churches, we go to these mosques, we don't have equanimity of the mind that the inner peace that because we don't know when the next bomb will detonate, are rising from people who have absolutely nothing doing, and so they got manacled by the devil, and it is the devil's bidding they are doing. So we need to have an honest conversation. Because I tell people, I say there are two departments, but I will be concerned about one department now that is responsible for why society has not developed. It is the religious department and perhaps the academia. Deal with these two departments. Transform these two departments. In all honesty, transformation will be exponential. Transformation will be great.
Well, thank you so much, Nurudeen Asunogie Esquire, for all you said today. I would say you've done noble because you've given to every part, every person their own piece. So it's for each to take what is there. As they say, the streets catch your sob so that Nigeria can be better. Religion is supposed to make us better. And so on the occasion of Eid al-Fitr, this kind, I'll call it a lecture, I'll call it a sober reflection and the conscientization. Thank you so much for doing all of this on the show today.
Thank you for having me. I'm grateful.
Thank you.
Wow, that was a lot. That was a lot. Each should take its own, and we should all work with it, work on ourselves to become better. It is time for us to go. Thank you so much for watching today's show. For those who are at home celebrating Eid al-Fitr, well, we'll say to you, enjoy the best of the holiday today, tomorrow. You return to work on Wednesday, or you continue business on Wednesday. Eid Mubarak to our Muslim brothers and sisters. Enjoy the celebration. I am Blessing Eichie. The show returns tomorrow. Dr. Idahosa Osamhanze.
Well, via the good Nigeria we envisage, and it will manifest soon. Eat responsibly. There is tomorrow.
Good advice.
Please eat lots of meat. Eat lots of meat because you are coming back to work next tomorrow. But you know what? We will always be here for you. Very good morning to you.